Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. For weeks, fans had been asking the same question over and over again. Where had Deacon Sharp disappeared to, and why had Taylor Hayes suddenly vanished right alongside him? The last time viewers saw Deacon, everything in his chaotic romantic life had seemed to reach a dramatic turning point. After months of dangerous tension, emotional confusion, and Sheila Carter lingering like a storm cloud over every moment of his future, Deacon finally made a choice that shocked almost everyone around him. He walked away from Sheila for good and openly embraced a brand new relationship with Taylor. In what felt like the beginning of an unexpected but surprisingly peaceful love story, Deacon sat down with his children, Hope Logan and Deke Sharp, and told them his old life was behind him. Sheila was over, Taylor was his future now, but just as quickly as that new romance began, both Taylor and Deacon seemed to disappear into thin air, leaving behind only unanswered questions and the eerie memory of Sheila silently watching them kiss before ominously whispering that it was not over yet. Since then, the world of had moved on without them, shifting its focus back toward the familiar battlefield that always seems to ignite the deepest chaos in Los Angeles, the endless war between the Logans and the Forresters. While Deacon, Taylor, and Sheila remained completely absent from the canvas, the rivalry between Hope Logan and Steffi Forrester slowly began to rise from the ashes once again. At first, things between Hope and Steffi had actually seemed stable, almost peaceful by soap standards, but that fragile balance shattered the moment Bill Spencer handed Katie Logan her own fashion house. Suddenly, old resentments resurfaced. Steffi began throwing subtle insults toward the Logan family again, and longtime viewers could practically feel the tension building before anyone even said it aloud. The rivalry was returning, and this time it looked more personal than ever. Hope, unwilling to accept defeat or rejection, began spiraling into the same desperate determination that once fueled her controversial takeover attempt at Forrester Creations alongside Carter Walton. The moment hope for the future was shelved yet again, she stopped seeing it as a business decision and started treating it like a direct attack on her identity. Meanwhile, the rest of the company could clearly see the reality Hope refused to accept. Eric Forrester's couture collection demanded the spotlight, and nearly everyone agreed that the company's resources needed to prioritize his vision. Everyone, that is, except Hope and Zende Forrester. But Hope's frustration quickly transformed into something much uglier than disappointment. Her bitterness started bleeding into her relationship with Brooke Logan, and the emotional parallels between Hope and Steffi became impossible to ignore. Around the exact same time that Steffi was pressuring Ridge Forrester to choose her over Brooke, Hope was demanding Brooke choose her over Ridge. The difference was devastatingly simple. Steffi got what she wanted, Hope did not, and deep down, that rejection began eating away at her pride. The pain simmered beneath every conversation, every confrontation, and every desperate push for control. While Brooke tried to maintain calm and reason, Hope's emotions burned hotter with every passing day, until patience itself seemed completely impossible for her. As viewers continued demanding answers about Taylor and Deacon's absence, the growing Hope and Steffi showdown suddenly began to feel like the perfect storm capable of pulling them back into the story. Taylor briefly resurfaced this week when Steffi filled her in on Brooke's shocking co-CEO power play, revealing that the idea had actually been pushed aggressively by Hope herself. Taylor's reaction carried a complicated mixture of concern, frustration, and quiet surprise. On one hand, she was clearly upset hearing that Ridge had even considered taking Steffi's leadership position and handing it over to Brooke. But at the same time, Brooke's thoughtful text message afterward genuinely impressed Taylor, creating a strange moment of uneasy respect between women who had spent years caught in Ridge's endless emotional orbit. For the moment, Steffi appeared willing to play nice with Brooke, even confirming that hope for the future would eventually return. Brooke, understanding the realities of business, accepted that answer with grace. She knew timing mattered. She understood patience. But hope? Hope had absolutely no patience left. By the end of the week, Hope stormed back into Steffi's orbit, demanding exact answers, exact timelines, and exact promises that Steffi simply could not give her. The problem was not necessarily refusal. The problem was uncertainty. Steffi genuinely did not know when hope for the future could return because the company's focus remained locked on Eric's collection. But to Hope, uncertainty sounded exactly like rejection. Once again, she felt dismissed, sidelined, and betrayed. And so the emotional fuse finally burned down to its final spark. Everything now points toward Hope officially abandoning Forrester Creations and taking Liam Spencer's offer to join the Logan Fashion House instead. Liam, Bill, and Katie had already been tempting her for weeks, promising her creative freedom, support, and a future where she would never feel overlooked again. They even welcomed Deke into the arrangement, making the offer feel even more personal and emotionally irresistible. Hope originally claimed she wanted to give Forrester one last chance, but after her explosive confrontation with Steffi, it feels almost inevitable that she will walk away completely. And once that happens, the emotional fallout could spread far beyond the fashion world, because while Hope prepares to embrace Logan and Steffi braces herself for what she will undoubtedly see as betrayal, the people caught in the middle may actually be Taylor and Deacon. Their romance has barely begun. Right now, they are still in that warm honeymoon phase where everything feels exciting, easy, and refreshingly uncomplicated. Sheila is gone. The constant threats and manipulations have temporarily faded into the background. For the first time in a very long time, Taylor and Deacon actually seem comfortable together, peaceful even. But soap opera happiness rarely survives untouched for long, and the return of the Hope versus Steffi war could easily become the first major crack in their relationship. Because no matter how much they care about each other, there is one unavoidable truth neither of them can escape. Their daughters are once again standing on opposite sides of a battlefield. Deacon, of course, is always going to defend Hope. From his perspective, her fashion line has been repeatedly undermined and pushed aside, and he understands why she feels hurt. As a father, he sees her pain before he sees the business realities. Taylor, meanwhile, will almost certainly stand firmly behind Steffi's position. She understands that numbers matter, timing matters, and Eric Forrester's legacy matters. To Taylor, this is not personal cruelty. It is simply business. But emotions inside families are never that simple, especially when loyalty begins pulling people in opposite directions. If Hope officially joins Logan, Steffi is almost guaranteed to lash out, accusing Hope of being manipulative, selfish, disloyal, and unwilling to act like a team player. Worse still, Taylor may actually agree with every word. After all, Hope's final move before leaving Forrester involved trying to pressure Brooke into taking Steffi's position at the company. That is not something Taylor is likely to forgive easily. The tension becomes even more complicated when business interests start intertwining with family loyalties. Bill Spencer is preparing to invest in expanding Deacon's restaurant, Il Giardino, tying Deacon even closer to the Spencer and Logan side of the conflict. On top of that, Deke's involvement means both of Deacon's children will now be working under the Logan banner. Emotionally and financially, Deacon is being pulled deeper and deeper into Hope's corner, whether he intends to or not. Taylor, however, remains deeply connected to the Forrester family through Steffi, Ridge, and Eric. Her loyalty runs through decades of love, heartbreak, and shared history. That means every disagreement between Hope and Steffi could slowly evolve into a disagreement between Taylor and Deacon themselves. Small arguments could turn into lingering resentment. Defensive comments could become emotional wounds, and suddenly, the romance that once seemed surprisingly stable could find itself standing directly in the path of another explosive family war. At the same time, there is still the lingering shadow of Sheila Carter hanging over everything, like a threat waiting for the perfect moment to return. Even though she has disappeared for now, nobody truly believes Sheila is gone forever. Her final scenes carried the kind of ominous energy that soap fans know never ends quietly. So while Hope and Steffi's feud may become the immediate obstacle threatening Taylor and Deacon's happiness, Sheila remains the unpredictable wild card lurking somewhere in the darkness, waiting for the right opportunity to strike again. And that looming uncertainty adds another layer of tension to a romance already standing on shaky ground. Still, there remains one final possibility, one small glimmer of hope buried beneath all the chaos. Taylor is a psychiatrist. Conflict resolution is literally part of who she is. She understands emotional triggers, family dynamics, and the dangerous cycle of inherited resentment better than almost anyone else in this world. So perhaps she and Deacon will find a way to survive this storm. Maybe they will agree to disagree. Maybe they will choose love over loyalty wars and refuse to let their daughter's feud poison their relationship. But in the dramatic world of peace never stays simple for very long. And as Hope and Steffi march toward another bitter collision course, it feels increasingly likely that Taylor and Deacon are about to discover whether their new romance is truly strong enough to survive the war waiting just around the corner. As the battle lines continue forming between the Logans and the Forresters once again, an almost uncomfortable sense of déjà vu begins settling over Los Angeles. It feels like history repeating itself, only this time the emotional damage threatens to cut even deeper because everyone involved knows exactly how destructive these family wars can become. Hope's growing anger no longer feels like temporary frustration anymore. It feels personal, consuming, and dangerously emotional. Every conversation she has with Steffi now carries the weight of years of resentment buried beneath the surface, resentment that never truly disappeared no matter how many times they attempted to move forward. To Hope, Steffi has once again become the symbol of everything standing in the way of her success, her confidence, and even her future. And to Steffi, Hope's actions are beginning to look less like ambition and more like manipulation wrapped in victimhood, the same pattern she believes has caused endless chaos inside Forrester Creations before. When Hope finally makes the decision to walk away from Forrester and officially align herself with Logan, the shift is going to feel seismic. The moment will not simply represent a career move, it will symbolize a declaration of war. The Forresters will almost certainly view her departure as betrayal, especially after Brooke's controversial co-CEO push already rattled the company from the inside. Hope may insist she had no other option, that Steffi forced her hand by refusing to prioritize Hope for the future, but Steffi will never see it that way. In her eyes, Hope lacked patience, loyalty, and respect for the company's larger vision. The emotional divide between them will only widen as both women become more convinced that they are the real victim in the situation. And as that hostility grows louder, the people around them will inevitably be forced to choose sides whether they want to or not. That is where the pressure on Taylor and Deacon begins to intensify in ways neither of them may be prepared for. Up until now, their romance has existed inside a strange bubble of calm. It surprised viewers because it felt unexpectedly mature compared to the chaos usually surrounding both of their lives. Deacon, a man who spent years tangled in scandal, instability, and dangerous relationships, finally seemed grounded with Taylor. And Taylor, after decades of heartbreak connected to Ridge Forrester and the endless Logan Forrester triangle, finally appeared emotionally safe with someone who genuinely appreciated her. Their relationship felt refreshing because there was no immediate drama tearing them apart. But the return of the Hope and Steffi feud changes everything because suddenly the conflict is no longer happening around them. It is invading their personal lives directly through the people they love most. You can almost picture the tension beginning to build inside quiet moments between them. Maybe it starts subtly, with Deacon defending Hope over dinner while Taylor calmly explains why Steffi's decisions make sense from a business standpoint. At first, the disagreements might stay respectful, even playful, because both of them understand they are protective parents. But soap tensions rarely stay small for long. The more Hope escalates, the more passionately Deacon will defend her, and the more firmly Taylor will stand behind Steffi. Eventually, those conversations could stop feeling theoretical and start feeling personal. Every criticism aimed at Hope may sound to Deacon like criticism of his daughter, his parenting, and even his loyalty as a father. Every defense of Hope may sound to Taylor like an attack on Steffi's integrity and leadership. Without realizing it, the two of them could slowly begin carrying the emotional weight of their daughter's feud into their own relationship. And what makes the situation even more volatile is the fact that both Hope and Steffi know exactly how to weaponize emotion when they feel cornered. Hope has already shown signs of unraveling emotionally under pressure, lashing out at Brooke and refusing to accept compromises that require patience. There is a growing desperation in her behavior, a refusal to hear "not yet," because emotionally she translates delay into rejection. Steffi, meanwhile, has never backed down from conflict, especially when she feels the Forrester legacy is under attack. She can be ruthless when defending her family and her company, and once Hope officially joins Logan, Steffi will likely view every move Hope makes as an act of aggression. The rivalry could quickly evolve from workplace tension into full-scale personal warfare, again, complete with accusations, betrayals, and emotional manipulation, pulling everyone deeper into the chaos. In the middle of all of this sits Brooke Logan, trapped in yet another impossible emotional position that has defined so much of her life. Brooke understands Hope's pain because she is her daughter, but she also understands the business realities that Hope refuses to accept. She knows Steffi is not entirely wrong. That internal conflict is likely tearing Brooke apart quietly because no matter what choice she makes, someone she loves ends up hurt. Ridge choosing Steffi over her during the co-CEO drama already left emotional bruises beneath the surface, even if Brooke handled the situation with grace outwardly. Watching Hope spiral afterward may only deepen Brooke's guilt, making her wonder if years of family rivalry have poisoned the next generation beyond repair. And as always, Ridge himself remains looming at the center of the emotional storm, connected to both Taylor and Brooke in ways that continue shaping every fracture inside these families. Meanwhile, viewers are still waiting for the inevitable moment when Sheila Carter steps back into the picture because her absence feels far too quiet to last. Sheila disappearing after witnessing Deacon and Taylor together was never going to be the end of the story. Someone like Sheila does not simply walk away from obsession, especially when rejection humiliates her publicly. The silence surrounding her almost feels more dangerous than open threats because it creates the unsettling feeling that she is watching, waiting, and planning from the shadows. And if Taylor and Deacon's relationship begins weakening under the pressure of Hope and Steffi's feud, Sheila could easily sense that vulnerability and exploit it. She has always known how to strike when emotions are already fractured, and chaos is the environment where Sheila thrives best. At Il Giardino, the emotional crossroads may become impossible to avoid. If Hope begins stopping by regularly to celebrate her future with Logan and discuss Deke's involvement, Deacon's restaurant could slowly transform into an unofficial headquarters for Team Logan. At the same time, if Taylor is spending more time with Steffi, especially if she is still living with her daughter, then every family gathering risks turning uncomfortable. Every shared dinner, every conversation, every casual interaction could carry invisible tension underneath it. One wrong comment about Hope, one sharp remark about Steffi, one emotional outburst at the wrong moment. That is all it could take for the cracks to widen. And because both Taylor and Deacon genuinely care about each other, those cracks may hurt far more than either of them expected. Still, despite all the looming drama, there remains something strangely compelling about Taylor and Deacon as a couple. They are not a glamorous fairy tale pairing built on perfection. They are two people with messy histories, emotional scars, complicated families, and years of mistakes behind them. Yet somehow, that imperfection is exactly what makes their connection feel believable. Deacon sees Taylor as someone who brings calm into his chaotic life, while Taylor sees a softer, more grounded side of Deacon that few others ever recognized. That emotional authenticity may ultimately become the one thing capable of saving them when everything around them begins falling apart. Because if they can survive Sheila Carter, survive the Logan Forrester War, and survive their daughters tearing each other apart once again, then maybe this unlikely romance could become stronger than anyone ever expected. But for now, the calm before the storm is rapidly disappearing. Hope is standing on the edge of a life-changing decision. Steffi is preparing for another brutal family conflict. Taylor and Deacon are unknowingly drifting toward the first true test of their relationship. And somewhere out there, Sheila Carter is still waiting in the shadows. In true fashion, every emotional thread is slowly tightening at the same time, building toward the kind of explosive collision that could change every relationship involved.